Well, the lucky people are here early. We're back. How you doing, y'all? Come on in. We're definitely early today, but I see y'all in chat, and I'm like, you know what? I can't type anymore. We're ready for this. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Guilty of Crime. I'm Jay, your host. As you know, if you're new, come on in, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, get a membership if you can. Definitely feeling a lot better today. My goodness. What's up, Cool Chris? Thank you so much for the Guilty of Crime membership. Guys, ladies, people, Sunday I woke up and I could not breathe. Everything was stuffy. And yesterday too, I was like, there's no way I could go to work or to film. So I slept it off, everybody. Sunday and Monday, I literally just slept. Today's Tuesday, right? Anyway, congratulations. If you received a membership from Cool and Chris, please thank her. How you guys doing? Good to see you, Amethyst. Hayes, glad they made sure. Oh, God, you have no idea. I've got a lot to tell you guys today. A lot to tell you. Now you know why cases take so long. But before I get into it, let me say hi to everybody. That way, y'all don't miss it. Because today we're talking about Anna Keaptainner and the update that finally has come. And guys, believe it, you will believe it when you see what the charges are that this monsters of a stepbrother that's a teenager, he's facing adult charges and a capital murder case. Now, he cannot be sentenced to the death penalty because of his age and the circumstances. However, we are going to talk today about what the teenage stepbrother is indicted and charged with, and we now know that that brother, he actually raped Anna before he murdered her. So I'm going to try to keep it down to a minimum with that language. I mean, I do want to be, I would like to get this monetized, but you just never know. Again, this is a pretty awful case. So trigger warning to all of you. I'll be back in a few. Glad you're, thank you. I'm much better. I usually get sick and I try to sleep it off. Sleep, fluids, vitamin C, zinc. So I've still got a little bit of a cold, guys, but I'm here. I'm feeling 1,000% better. And I got a haircut. So if y'all hit that like button for my haircut, hit the like button because I'm early. Hit the like button because you like the content I provide. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Cool and Chris. I appreciate that. Oh my God, guys. Crime Con's getting close too. Hello from Scotland. Hello, Midnight Lace. How are you? Sadie's mama. Always a pleasure. Mama Pearl's in the house. How's everybody doing today? I hope you guys are doing well. I saw you guys. Pam Todd says, hey, how are you, Jay? Hello. Hello, Pam. How are you doing? And Kathy, my girl. Good to see you. Thanks for those documents that you sent over. That's awesome. Kathy's awesome. You guys should really go subscribe to her channel if you haven't. And that's the link, the mods can drop a link. I want to make sure I get it right. True Crime File 67. All right, go sub up to her. She's awesome. Edith, member for 10 months. I feel like it's longer than that. Has it only been 10 months? Thank you. If you like my haircut, hit the like button. I'll take the like for that. All right. There's sound on my part, my friend. You gotta unmute yourself. Beauty lover, can you hear me? You gotta turn your volume up. I've got my volume. Positive vibes. Holly's in the house. My girl Tiff, good to see you. You guys check out Ghost. There's so many new cases on Ghost. And Kathy's been a member for 6 months. Again, it seems much longer. Thank you guys for being here and supporting the channel. Flo Joe, what's up, my guy? How you doing? Are you covering this case too? Because this case is crazy and a mad trigger warning. All right. Yeah, I still got a little bit. I'm still a little bit stuffy, but all it takes is a little bit of caffeine, a little bit of vitamin C, a little bit of zinc, and some sleep, and I'm good to go. I literally slept for 2 days, guys, straight. What's up? No shoot vaccine. How you doing? I can't find the gifting, you say. Well, maybe the mods can drop a link. There's a link to the gifting. And now that I remember on Friday, my voice was starting to get all crazy. I guess that's why we did the interrogation, because I couldn't talk. So I should have known that was coming. Marilyn, how you doing? This case is wild. And it's disgusting too. I have to eat garlic. Oh no. Yeah, Mrs. Guilty was telling me to eat something spicy, and I was like, maybe later on today. All right, her dad and absolutely. Let's get into this, guys. I just wanted to make sure I came on early, and I know people will say, "What happened, Jay?" So I wanted to give a little time. Listen, Pat, you're right on point. And some of the discussions today is actually about the parents and me comparing the parents to now the school shooters. All right, there are school shooters and active shooters that are now being placed on the parents. So the parents are now being convicted finally. After how many years was the Columbine freaking shooting? How long did it take to get law enforcement to finally charge those damn parents for not taking care of their children's mental health while giving them a shotgun or a semi-automatic for their birthday? Come on, people, think. All right, so that might happen. I'm telling you, they were warned when we saw the interview with her ex-boyfriend. Guys, we had no idea what we were getting into. That was not the first time, but it was definitely the next time that he full on. And I'm telling you, they wouldn't have charged with this. He's got new charges. He raped her, and then he murdered her by asphyxiation. And then he went and hung out with the family, slept in the room, went back to breakfast the next day knowing what he had done to her, and they're calling it premeditated. All right. So I just want you guys to really understand about what this is. Why can't I gift a membership? You can gift a membership. Is there not a link? Maybe because you changed platforms, cat or names. Thank you, Holly, so much for the $1.99. You're very welcome. Maybe you just changed the account. You're in two different accounts. Oh yeah, a demon for sure. And it's hard to see a demon because you look at this guy. Hold on, not that. Well, you're going to see that in a minute, but let me do this. Move that. You see this guy, and it looks like a little boy, right? You're looking at him. Now, guys, this is going to be very triggering because he did, in fact, and he is, in fact, and it is alleged until he's charged. They did find his DNA, whatever you want to say, inside of her vaginal area. Okay, so he raped her. Then he murdered her by asphyxiation and went on about his day on the cruise. All right. I didn't even know that. Like, I had no idea all of that had went down. But I'm going to show you how it transpired and what led them to charging him as an adult. Yes, guys, he's being charged as an adult. So I'm just going to tell you real quickly. Timothy Hudson's a 16-year-old boy that's now been indicted, guys, and will be prosecuted as an adult. All right, in the death of his 18-year-old stepsister, Anna Keaptainner. Now, federal prosecutors are the ones that took this over because they were on the waters. They were out in the sea having a cruise, so FBI stepped in. Now, federal prosecutors say that a grand jury returned an indictment charging him with now first-degree murder and aggravated sexual abuse for the conduct that allegedly occurred on the Carnival Horizon while they were on international waters. All right, that's why I want you to understand international FBI comes in, all right? Or you start to change counties and state lines, get confused, FBI steps in. I assure you, you do not want to be federally prosecuted, and he's going straight for, they're going straight for it. Although, guys, I'm pissed. Yes, Cal. Yes, I haven't got there yet. He is not locked up. He's with his uncle, just free to do what he wants. Again, we're going to have all the conversations, but he is not locked up. He's staying with his uncle. And don't worry, I'm going to get into all that today. Tara, good to see you. Angel, Tara Angel, mom of two, Mr. Bot, or Chasm. Why were these teenagers of different genders sharing a cabin? Well, according to the mom, she says, well, that's what the travel agent said to do. But They have major responsibility because the parents were already warned that this little monster that doesn't look like a monster, all right, now he's out. He's all out. He's at his uncle's house. He's working with his uncle, allegedly. He's out there free. I've never seen this before with a graping and sexual assault murder case. Never seen somebody walk free, but I'm imagining it's because he's a minor. All right, but we're gonna be real tough. We're gonna be real tough on this guy. All right, James, good to see you. He was locked up and let go. That's what we're getting into, and that's why we are doing an update today. All right, so he's finally been indicted, and he's going to be prosecuted as an adult. All right, so key developments that in the case, this happened, this breaking news from yesterday. Federal grand jury indicted Timothy Hudson on first degree and aggravated abuse, right, in the death and abuse of his stepsister. Now, this probably didn't happen the only time. Now, the jurisdiction is prosecutors say that allegedly the offenses occurred on Carnival Horizon while on international waters on November 6th and 7th, when the ship returned to Port Miami after the voyage, and then FBI led the investigation. All right. So, I got all the court filings. Thank you to Kathy. She sent me 30 some odd pages. And let me tell you right now, in those filings, Anna Keaptainner was discovered concealed under a bed, wrapped in a blanket, covered in life jackets in the stateroom that she shared with two other teens. Now, the Miami-Dade medical examiner ruled the cause of death mechanical asphyxiation. However, what we didn't know is that before he took her life, he got on top of her and he put his pee in her V. And then you're going to see that in the paperwork. I'm trying to be at least vulgar that I can as we get to this. Okay, so the unsealed indictment and related filings allege that Timothy Hudson sexually assaulted and intentionally, by premeditation, killed Anna Keaptainner while on the ship on the way back to Miami. Investigators noted that the surveillance footage showed no one else entering or exiting the room the night of the killing, guys. And it was a sealed juvenile proceeding. Now Hudson was charged. He was sent from juvenile court to adult, and the files were sealed because of his age. Guess what, guys? They're not sealed anymore. All of the documents are unsealed, and that's why we're here talking about this today. So come on in, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. Kathy J, I can. And as soon as I get into where I'm not reading, I will absolutely give some memberships, Kathy. Thank you. Good idea. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. He is out of jail. And what's up, Melissa? Good to see you, twin mommy boys. All right, so I just wanted to give you a little bit of the background. You see the counts, the indictments. He's got first degree and aggravated abuse, sexual abuse. Maximum penalty on both counts if he's convicted. He's facing life in prison and statutory fines. All right, but there will be no death penalty. So I want you guys to understand that. All right, so let me just do this. Let me do this real quick. I'm visual as much as you are. And then I'm going to break down all the other stuff, show you where he's staying, why he's out. We're going to have discussions today.
A teen accused of murdering his stepsister on a cruise ship will be prosecuted as an adult.
The DOJ made that announcement today in its first public comments on the Anna Keaptainner case. Of course, made national headlines.
Thank you, Flojo.
Watch 2 investigative reporter Justin Shecker is following these new developments. He's live in the newsroom today. Justin.
Yeah.
Hey, good evening. We already knew from the Miami-Dade medical examiner that Anna Keaptainner died by asphyxiation. According to the DOJ, the 16-year-old stepbrother sexually assaulted the Titusville teen before he intentionally killed her. 5 months after 18-year-old Anna Keaptainner was found dead in a Carnival cruise ship cabin, her 16-year-old stepbrother has been indicted as an adult by the U.S. Department of Justice.
He's certainly looking at a maximum potential sentence of life in prison.
Former federal prosecutor David Haas explained how the DOJ could have reached.
Wait, I keep on seeing this lady, and I know that's not his mom. So fill me in. Is that his lawyer? Who's touching him and hugging him and trying to hide him? I mean, this is a sadistic. If this is premeditated, this is sadistic as it gets. That he planned. Thank you. I thought that was a lawyer. Just want to double check because last time I said it was the lawyer. This guy, they're alleging, premeditated the raping and murder of Anna Keaptainner. All right. She is a lawyer, but she's all touching him. And I'm like, just throw him in there, lock him up. This guy's a sicko.
This decision.
Typically, the number one most common factor is going to be obviously the seriousness of the offense. And here you have, two is about as bad as they get as far as the allegations go.
After he was initially charged as a juvenile in February.
Can you tell us the status of his release terms?
The stepbrother kept his head down and didn't say a word as he left federal court in Miami. Newly unsealed court documents reveal the 16-year-old suspect is charged with Kepner's murder and aggravated sexual abuse.
I don't even really want to think about that one because I can't even begin to imagine what she went through.
I spoke by phone with Anna's biological.
And we have Anna's biological mom. I'm going to show the statement. He's 16. Anna Keaptainner was 18 when he took her life, but the family already knew. The ex-boyfriend had been warned. Everybody that's talking now and anybody that's going to be, if this goes to trial, will talk and say the parents knew about it. They were fully warned, and yet they still put them in a room together. Now, mind you, that could have happened back at home, right? Because he got on top of her. That little shit, that 16 years old, that looks like a innocent little dude. Look at how innocent I am, just an innocent little boy, right? Now it doesn't look scary like a monster, but he gets in the room and he's a monster. All right. Not only is he a monster, but he's done that before. He's got on top of her before, and who knows what he did at that time. We don't know if he's ever assaulted her other than that. But what we do know, it is so young, but so evil. And they're calling it premeditated. If the federal prosecutor / FBI is calling this premeditated, they must have evidence to say so. What's up, Love True Crime? How you doing? Innocent my ass. Yeah, he tried to do that to her before, guys, and the parents were warned. All right, let's continue. It makes me mad. This case, I'm just like, I can't understand it.
Mother, Heather Wright.
I'm just happy that my daughter got justice and that they tried him as an adult because I was a little worried.
The Titusville teen was a high school cheerleader set to graduate this year.
A beautiful human being, a beautiful soul.
Nancy Larkin's granddaughter was one of Kepner's classmates at the Temple Christian School.
We knew basically from the beginning what has happened, and we've been waiting for this, and we are very grateful.
Before Monday's announcement by the DOJ, details surrounding the FBI investigation to Kepner's murder during a family vacation have been revealed through court filings and hearings in her stepmother's child custody case.
So that's his biological mom. And I want you guys to understand that, Michelle, you're absolutely right. She was naked. When they found her, she was naked. If she weren't wrapped in the life jackets and the under the bed with a sheet, she would have been naked. So 110% what you're saying is exactly what they're being charged with. And they're even giving you that information in the documents. You know what I'm saying? In the documents, it says here that count 2, aggravated sexual abuse on November 6th with special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the U.S. upon the high seas. And again, this is why why it was being prosecuted federally, because they were on the waters. Now they took that federal indictment with Miami-Dade, and they're going to go to the Southern District of Florida, where it will be tried, being the district in which the offender was arrested, the defendant. Remember, he turned himself in at one point. And this is no longer sealed. By the way, I have all these documents. I probably shouldn't have used the one with plunder, but I have them anyway. Did knowingly cause an attempt. His name's Timothy Hudson, a minor. Knowingly attempt to cause or engage in a sexual act with his damn sister. That's not what it says, but it says causing contact between his penis and Anna's vulva by vaginally penetrating her with his penis and by the use of force against Anna in violation of Title 18 U.S. State Code section, the legal jargon. And then he's got count 1 murder. Same day, November 6, 2025. Same thing with the jurisdiction, knowingly, unlawfully, and then they go back to penetration and murder, attempt to perpetrate a murder that is willful, deliberate, malicious, and they're calling it premeditated. All right, this guy, the reason I say that he looks innocent is because he does. By all means, when we watch cases like Jeffrey Dahmer or Rex Heuermann, we're seeing these people that look like monsters, and we're like, ooh, they look evil. But when I see this guy, he looks like a little boy. He looks like he's like a 10-year-old little boy. All right. He just doesn't look like the monster that you would expect. All right. Yeah, absolutely. If Mab wants the documents, I got it. Don't worry about it, my friend. You got to download them anyway. They've got to be downloaded. So yeah, it is very appalling. All right, let's get back to this. I just wanted you guys to see what's happening here. And they are talking about, guys, I want you to realize we're going to talk about this today too, charging the parents.
Why couldn't you bring back to your home?
Looking out for the safety of the other children in the home.
And we are learning the conditions of the stepbrother's release through the newly unsealed federal court documents. He must live with his uncle in Hernando County, and he cannot be alone with anyone under the age of 18 without adult supervision. He's also subject to GPS monitoring. Covering Brevard County Live in the...
Now, I cannot understand that for the life of me, guys. Like, there's nothing I can say to you that would make you feel all right about him being free. He's 110% free to be hanging out with his uncle. Now, let me show you a few more documents so you can see that he was absolutely released to his uncle. Look at this. I got all the documents. There's 37 documents with a shit ton of pages. U.S. District Court, Southern District of Florida, which is who's covering this. All right. And they got TH, but his name, Timothy Hudson's now out there. This cause is before the court regarding the minor's release, and pursuant to the requirements of Title 18, it's ordering and granted that Timothy Hudson shall be released to the custody of his uncle, Devin Zisk, who resides in Brookville, Florida, until the date now of the pretrial. But the pretrial's done now. He's being indicted, and he's back with his uncle again. All right, so I just wanted to show you the documentation of him being released, and it's very unacceptable. Very unacceptable. He's free to do what he will. All right. And we don't know what that means. We don't know what that absolutely means. But let me show you another document real quick. And we're not getting into all of them, just a few of them. All right. So this is United States of America versus Timothy Hudson, a minor. Now, this is the good news. Order finalizing transfer to adult prosecution and unsealing the court record. Hence, why we have the information now. All right. So they unsealed that document, and this guy's going to be with the big boys. The court heard the argument on the motion and reviewed the supporting records, at which time the court announced its finding. The order is entered to memorialize the court's finding on the docket. It is thus ordered and adjudged. What does that say? Adjudged? I know there's a different way to say that. Adjudged. I don't know how to say that. Judged. Okay. On February 26, U.S. Court District entered into the order referring this case to adult prosecution. All right. So they opened that up. They unsealed it. And on March 10th, pursuant to the provisions of the 18 USC point, all the legal jargon, they filed written certifications of the juvenile clerk of courts of Miami-Dade and Brevard County in state of Florida. All right. So they turned it over. They opened it. They unsealed it. We all have the documents now. They reviewed the certifications from the juvenile clerk, yada, yada. Right. There's a lot of stuff in here that they refused to assume jurisdiction, which is they don't want to take this case. This case is out of control. It's further ordered that the record in this matter, including filings and court's electronic docket, be unsealed by the clerk of courts, accepting an item specified here. All right. So this is all just legal jargon pursuant to federal rules. docket entry 42, and they got the attached certifications, all the stuff they need. There's a ton of it. And then USTH order a copy of transcript of the February 26th detention hearing. Said transcript shall be provided to the parties. Why does Timothy Hudson want a copy of the transcript? Anyway, the transcript they believe should remain sealed. They don't think so. So the parents and the people want this sealed, and they're like, no way, I'm not buying it. Yay, Deb made it. Woo. And thank you, Flojo, by the way. If you came in here and I didn't say thank you, thank you. All right, let's get to justice for Anna Keaptainner. I think that's what we're doing. Hi, Deb. I'm glad you made it. JJ Clout Goblin. What's up, man? Oh, I don't even know how to say hi to that name, but hello. Foxy, good to see you. Thank you for the Guilty of Crime membership. If you received the membership, please do thank Foxy and whoever gives them. I'm going to give some in a little bit. Plus, the mom did not give him sleeping meds. Now, listen, I'm going to get into this with you guys out of my own personal experience. And you know I have a lot of personal experience. You know what he was taking was clonidine. It wasn't Klonopin at all. It was clonidine. It's not Klonopin, what you're putting down there. There's a huge difference between Klonopin and clonidine. Clonidine is a blood pressure medicine that they use for ADHD people to slow them down. Now, I don't give a crap if he was supposed to take his benzos or Xanax or Klonopin and he didn't. No way, no how. Both of my children have freaking ADHD and many others, and they would never, and I mean never, do something like this because they didn't take their pill. Screw you, and I'm sorry. I just get, that makes me mad. That is unexcusable, and I want everybody to know it's not true. Yeah, Timu Klonopin. It's called clonidine, and it doesn't do shit except stop their mind from going a million miles an hour. Now, you give them a Xanax, and now they're just going to have a Xanax problem and start drinking alcohol and taking Xanax. So that's a shit poor excuse, and I will never, ever, you're never going to hear me use that as an excuse because it's not. That is, when they say that, they were talking about the medication, guys, and I looked up what the medication was. I said, clonidine, that wouldn't make you do anything. If you know about clonidine, it's blood pressure medication. Oh, he missed his blood pressure medication, so he decided to climb on top of his sister and then kill her after. That's who he's staying with, guys. All right, this is who he's staying with right now. His uncle, Devin. I hope there's no kids. He could be mean to the dogs. Hopefully the dogs will bite him back if he's a dick. Now, his uncle kind of looks similar to his uncle. He's got the, blonde hair, blue eye thing going for him. So that's where he's going to be staying with this guy, Devin Zisk. Let's hope that it works out well because there could be other victims, guys. There could absolutely be other victims. So, Uncle Devin, you better be prepared, buddy, for what's coming next. All right, let's go to the unsealed documents so we can get through that stuff. And then we've got a lot of discussions today. All right, so I have the documents. I'm not going to go through 700 pages, but we're going to talk about the unsealed court documents and what they reveal in the details of Anna Keaptainer's death. Feds now seeking to jail Timothy Hudson pending trial. Now, listen, guys, they want to, and this might happen. So say a prayer for Anna Keaptainner and her family that they are able to get him locked up. All right. He needs to be in jail, no bail. They're working on that. They're not, you think they're happy about that? Do you think that the feds want to have this kid running around? They're seeking to get him in jail pending trial. That was yesterday. All right. So everything's unsealed. We all know about it now. And Titusville, all right, the Space Coast rocket had obtained federal court documents in the murder case of Titusville teen Timothy Hudson, including superseding indictment returned by a grand jury. And that was just yesterday. The government's motion to revoke Hudson's release and jail him pending trial, and previously sealed filings that reveal Hudson himself signed a written request to be tried as an adult. Can you imagine that? Guys, he basically confessed. I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of what they know is because he talked before he ever had an attorney. Okay, which, hey, he did it. The documents filed in the court of Southern District painted a detailed picture of a case that moved swiftly through the federal justice system since Anna Keaptainer's body was found aboard Carnival Horizon on November 7th, 2025. Now, we kind of went over what the indictment actually says, right? It's the indictment on March 10th. Actually, the grand jury was on March 10th. All of this just came out yesterday. Timothy Hudson's facing 2 federal felonies. Count 1, murder, first degree, and then he's got the count 2, aggravated sexual abuse. All right, both of those are both of those are first degree. Right, he could face up to 25 years to life, probably with the possibility of parole. All right, the penalty sheet attached to the indictment confirms that both counts carry a maximum sentence of life in prison with up to 5 years of supervised release. Even if he gets out in 20 years, guys, he's still only going to be 36 years old, right? That sucks. Now, the government is now trying to lock him up. In a motion filed yesterday, I want you guys to rest easy. They are working on it. You see that? Federal government, FBI, is now trying to lock him up. Get him out of the uncles. Don't let him not be in contact with anybody. All right? Yeah, I don't know that but he will be, Deb. He will be for sure. What's up, Rebecca? How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. All right, so look, yesterday after the federal jury came back on the 10th, the FBI on April 13th, they said no way, no how. The same day as the public announcement of an adult indictment, federal prosecutors filed a formal motion for review and revocation of order of release, asking the U.S. District Judge Beth Bloom to please detain Hudson pending trial. Lock this monster up. Now, the motion reveals a critical piece of procedural history that had not been previously public. Hudson was never held in jail after his initial juvenile proceedings, guys. After a detention hearing on February 6th, the magistrate Judge Edwin released Hudson to the custody of a family member under conditions without requiring any bond. Prosecutors had sought detention at the hearing and they were denied. Why? Now the case has officially been transferred to adult prosecution and finalized 4 days ago. The government argues that the old juvenile release order no longer legally applies to this monster, and under the Federal Bail Act reform, Hudson should be detained because he poses a clear danger to others. Does anyone else agree? Who's with me? And when I put a video on, I'll give some memberships. Who's with me on that? Drop a 1 if you think they should get his sorry ass and put him in jail. Thank you, Michelle. The guilty of crime membership. If you received it, please thank Michelle. They do want that. I can't even believe this either. With no bail. He got 0 bail. And we didn't know that because the documents were sealed. Now that they're unsealed, everything's out there. Prosecutors also raise a practical problem with the current release because Hudson was released without a bond under the juvenile statute. If he violates a condition, the only consequence is a contempt of court proceeding rather than bond forfeiture. Excuse me. All right, so they won't forfeit it because there's nothing to forfeit. They'll just say, okay, well, judge rules on the motion and there's nothing that they can do. Now, the defense has requested the matter be referred back to the magistrate who presided over the original detention. But again, that was a child, not an adult. Now, guys, listen, this little monster, Timothy Hudson, asked to be tried as an adult. Among the most significant details buried in these hundreds of court filings, it's in a previously sealed document. It shows Timothy that with the advice of the federal public defender, he signed a written request on February 23rd asking the court to transfer his case to adult status and waive his right to a transfer hearing. That's wild. I've never heard that you would want to be tried as an adult. The document then titled Request to Proceed as an Adult and Waiver of Hearing pursuant to, right, 18 dot whatever, bears Hudson's signature alongside those of 3 defense attorneys and a federal public defender. Now, in it, Timothy acknowledged that he understood the charges, that he was waiving the right to contest the transfer, and that if the court decided to transfer his case to adult after a hearing, he could have appealed that decision, but he chose not to contest it at all. So the motion then transferred, filed to the prosecutors on February 24th, notes that because Timothy filed this written waiver, the court was not required to hold a full evidentiary hearing on the transfer. Judge Beth Bloom then entered the transfer order on February 26th, just 2 days after the motion was filed. It was sent over, and the grand jury on March 10th, 4 days ago, has made this an adult case. All right. So, you guys, I think everybody wants him locked up. I think now that we know that he's being charged with premeditated first degree and raping his stepsister. What's up, Clark? Good to see you, my friend. Big hug. Smash that like button. Smash it. He's hoping they won't hold him responsible. Better deal. I think so. I think that he really does think that his white privilege and him being 16 is going to get him out of this. I really do, guys. I really think that in his tiny brain, he thinks that. All right. Quick timeline, and then we're going to get into more discussions. Where is this? This one's a pretty big timeline. I can't use the other one that you sent me, Tiff, because my eyes don't see it anymore. I can't see that small. All right, just quickly, a timeline of how this case unfolded, guys. November 7th, Anna Keaptainner, 18, is found dead in the cabin she shared with Timothy and her younger sibling aboard the Carnival. All right, we now know, we knew before the cause of death was mechanical asphyxiation. He strangled her. She was strangled, guys. That's the best way to say. He raped her, strangled her, and it was all premeditated. Now, February 2nd, federal prosecutors filed a sealed information charging Hudson under the Juvenile Delinquency Act with murder in the first degree and aggravated sexual abuse. But guess what, guys? We didn't know that because the documents have been sealed the whole time. So none of the charges are new. They're just surprisingly new to us because they were sealed with him as a minor. All right. I hope they do not let him walk free. But let me tell you something here. So as we go along, February 6th, he had a multi-hour detention hearing, and they found probable cause for both charges, but they declined to detain him, and they released him to family on February 6th with a little bit of conditions, right? To an adult, not in the house, and they reserve the right that the government may seek to revisit his release. Now, February 19th, the government provides its first discovery response to defense counsel. That includes all FBI reports and investigation material. 4 days later, February 23rd, Timothy Hudson signs the written waiver requesting adult prosecution. February 24th, prosecutors file unopposed motion, and 2 days later, Judge Bloom enters the transfer order. Now, March 10th, that was the federal grand jury. They returned, and they felt that this was the right thing to do, and prosecutors filed the juvenile court certifications from Miami-Dade counties confirming Hudson had no prior record and as required before the adult transfer is finalized. So, I mean, now we're looking at April 7th and 8th, and the government files its third discovery, and that is to hold a hearing to find proper certifications have been filed and everything's transferred as an adult. in the docket, right? We have those. April 10th, the case is formally and officially transferred. This is 4 days ago to adult prosecution. He's an adult now, according to that. All right. So what happens next, guys? What happens next? Let me put Anna's mom on from her TikTok, and then I'll tell you what happens next. All right. Anna's mom, you guys can check it out yourself. She's on my TikTok. I follow her. She follows me. I'm glad she does. We've went back and forth a couple of times, but she hasn't wanted to talk.
Has been charged. Not arrested yet, though.
He's arrested.
No, he's not arrested. He's wearing a GPS tracker monitor thing. Really?
Well, let me just tell you, this is up to date. Her interpretation is different than what's really happening. So this is why I'm running it through you. Okay? Because what she said is that we got justice for Anna. There's no justice for Anna yet, number one. And number two, he has been formally arrested and charged. He's just not being held. All right? So I don't want to confuse you with what she says. She just doesn't understand the proper term.
Just mom here. Update on Anna's case. Tennessee has been charged. Not arrested yet, though. No, he's not arrested. He's wearing a GPS tracker monitor thing. Really? He deserves to be put in jail. Why is he not there yet? Like, charges have been filed. He's still running around free. Ankle monitoring and do shit. You know, they can fake those now. They can hack them. They can do all kinds of things. So he might be where they think he is, but he ain't. He could be somewhere else. Totally different state. Running, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I am excited to...
Oh man, that was a rookie mistake, guys. That was a rookie mistake. I clicked out of it. Foxy's starting, but you know what? Foxy keeps us sane, because then we're not just basking in all the terrible things that happen. And she makes sense, Foxy. It's like, hey, dude, you don't gotta grape somebody. Why don't you try to do a workaround, buddy? But don't do that on your stepsister. Let's finish this. This is Just Mom 1984 on TikTok, and this is Anna Keaptainer's mom.
Update on Anna's case. Tennessee has been charged. Not arrested yet, though. No, he's not arrested. He's wearing a GPS tracker monitor thing. Really? He deserves to be put in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he not there yet? Like, charges have been filed. He's still running around free. Ankle monitoring and do shit. You know, they can fake those now. They can hack them. They can do all kinds of things. So he might be where they think he is, but he ain't. He could be somewhere else. Totally different state. Running, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I am excited to continue seeing this move forward, and hopefully he gets what he deserves, and for my this part goes out to my ex and his family. So now all of a sudden you're anti-Timothy. Like, your mom in her interview said that, they were best friends, thick as thieves. Y'all are such fucking liars. They were never thick as thieves. They were not the three amigos, as the stepmother would say. No. My daughter was terrified of that boy.
You hear that? Do you hear that? I wanted everybody to hear that. My daughter was terrified of that boy. Now, I am going to reserve the right to say anything about mom. We know mom has had drug problems. She can't deny it. You can't look past it. You see it. Allegedly, she is recovering. However, she didn't do that to her daughter. Timothy did. And the stepmother allowed it. Okay, they knew what was happening. She was terrified of Timothy, and they put him in the same room. They let the kids drink. Come on, guys. This is she I know that she's going to testify. She's going to have to testify, because she's going to have to tell them, and the boyfriend's going to have to tell them. Everybody was afraid of this little piece of crap monster. Ridiculous. I can't believe it went that far.
Her father did not do his job.
Nope.
And he was careless, and he put them in the same room together, which in turn caused my daughter to die. That is something he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. And I'm going to make sure he never forgets it.
Amen, Mom.
I might not have been there for the last 7 years, but that was not entirely my fault. Her dad alienated me and pushed me out of her life, and then told her shit, brainwashed her into thinking I didn't love her, when I have thought about her every single day since I moved to Oklahoma.
I mean, you're supposed to have two parents. If one of them doesn't come through and that happens, what, I'm not the person, I'm not the judge, I'm not the jury, and I'm certainly not the executioner. I don't care what her mom has done or not done. Anna didn't deserve any of that, and her dad and the stepmom should all be charged. You're right. The person earlier that said there should be 3 people charged, you're absolutely right. They should start charging parents. She was a mathematician, Deb. She's a recovering mathematician. All right. You guys are funny in chat. Those parents, yeah. Again, just like the way that you get prosecuted, now parents, you cover up a crime or you provide your child with a school gun, a shooter to shoot the school down, you should be arrested. So why aren't they being charged? Maybe they will. I don't know. I hope that I hope she can step up a little bit and try to help that process.
Which I'm starting to completely regret. I wish I never. Well, I can't say I wish I never moved here because I've met a lot of great people while I was here. But if I wouldn't have left, she might still be here.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
If her dad wouldn't have tricked me out of giving him custody of Anna, she might still be here. He didn't raise his daughter. Tabitha, thank you very much, sweetheart, raised my daughter. Christopher was just there to make it look good. He had a perfect family, not really. Behind closed doors, he was nothing.
And guys, you got to remember, he was with her, and he's the father. Her husband, the father, was having an affair with their little young nanny. Okay, so she ended up, Tabitha's the one that she's talking about, ended up actually raising Anna until they divorced just back a few years ago, and then he remarried right away. He remarried Chantel. Yes, Wes says, "Damn you." What's up, Mab? Good to see you. But she spills all the tea, man. When you go to her channel, when something happens, and you go to Just Mom, she tells us all the gossip.
Nothing at all. Perfect. Anyway, but yay, my daughter's getting justice, so just want to let you.
She is, love, and we're here for you. I'm going to send you a message later. I appreciate that she does that, and she keeps us kind of, afloat of what's happening. So let's remove that. And you know how I am about the victims. I really think that the victims deserve the best amount of justice they can. And the victims are also family members that had no say in what happened. All right. So this we're going to talk about, and then we're going to get into a conversation, a crazy conversation with that Brian Enton came out with. But we're going to talk about the charges and what the hell happened.
Welcome into Florida Live. I'm Bailey Bockover. Thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon, live on Fox Local, YouTube, Facebook, and on Fox 35 TV.
Yeah.
Attorney with Cadillac Law in Texas who's not on charges of murder and aggravated sexual abuse in the killing of his stepsister. Right now, we're going to bring in Lauren Cadillac, an attorney with Cadillac Law in Texas who's not affiliated with this case, but has been following it closely. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us today on Florida Live.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So since this happened on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, why is the U.S. federal government handling this instead of a specific state or the country where the ship is registered?
So the fact of the matter is, when you are on the ocean, there is no state that would have a jurisdiction. This state's ownership of the ocean only goes so far, not very far at all. Once you get a certain amount of yards.
I want you to pay attention to some of the videos they show, because there's Anna Keaptainner right there. I want you to remember there was a lot. And when I say a lot, there was a lot of footage, guys. Remember, they were on a Carnival cruise. There are cameras everywhere. Okay, when I tell you that I think the prosecution has a video camera of them going into the room and her never coming back out, that's a smoking gun right there. Yes, I'm going to give some memberships right now. Thank you, True Crime Files. Kathy, I just remembered again. All right, so let's continue. Her braces look black, like black teeth. Yeah, they do. That's funny. All right, look at, I think this is from the boat. I absolutely think this was the Carnival cruise. She's out there dancing. This was an ongoing problem, guys.
Into the ocean away from the beach, the only jurisdictions that would apply would be the flag of the ship, the country of origin of potentially the country of origin of the folks at issue or of where the ship took off, or an international court. But I couldn't imagine a international court taking up something like this, an incident that happens between private citizens on a cruise ship. Typically, the international courts are in like much greater scale maritime and more interested in war crimes and international issues like such as that.
Right.
So that is why our FBI has taken it up. That's why it has been federally charged against her. It didn't happen in the state. The state did not have jurisdiction.
Now, when they got back to Florida, he was arrested in Florida, and that's where they reside. All right. All good, Kathy. No worries. I'm working my way to it. All right. Let's continue. What's up, Tucson girl? You made it. Is the stepbro in the background of any boat vids or photos? Maybe. Yes. We just don't have access to that, but we have. You're welcome. We don't have access to that. But I assure you, he is. And when they put in the indictment that it was premeditated, there has to be a reason that they're calling it premeditated. All right, so we're going to get into that. We haven't even got started, and we've been here for almost an hour. Positive vibes. You're very welcome. Good to see you. It's really good to see Tucson girl here, though. Tucson girls from the Nancy Guthrie case. It's fantastic. Thank you for being here. Hey, Tracy, better late than never. Right. We're just talking about why the jurisdiction is the way it is. He's going to be in a shitload of trouble, guys. The fact that this is a federal case and he's being charged with first degree on both. I hope they max that sentence out, guys. And they need to arrest him.
Now, the suspect is only 16. What has to happen legally for a judge to decide that a teenager should face the same court and the same penalties as an adult?
So in this case, the judge has already decided that. And typically what a judge is going to look at, some state laws do give guidance. So while it's a federal crime, a judge could look at the state's guidance. They can look at federal guidance, but you're going to look at the type of crime. You look at the circumstances surrounding the crime. Has this person committed a crime before? You know, how terrible is the crime?
I mean, guys, how scary is that? Really, though? Really tell me the truth. How scary is that now to think about you getting remarried and having a separate set of kids and those separate set of kids assaulting or you being afraid of the other child or the other child raping the other child? That's scary. And I can see why when you guys come in here, Jay needs to advise her on hair care. Freaking Mab, you just derailed me. Lady for Justice, member for 19 months. Thank you for being here. Anyhow, it's scary, guys. Yes, the bangs are scary too, but it's very scary now. And a lot of women in chat say, I'm not dating anyone until my kid grows up. You know what? Do that. Rightfully so, because now you don't just have to worry about a step parent. Now you're worried about the stepbrother and sister. Now, just imagine that. She's out there dancing on the Carnival cruise, just being her cute little self. She's about to go off to the military, and he premeditatedly rapes and kills her by strangulation. All right? Yes, she was. All right, let's continue.
For instance, if a 16-year-old I don't know, was convinced to carry, let's say, some marijuana from Texas to Florida. That is federal, right? So that is a federal crime. But and the kid just got their license, and depending, maybe there was an influence of an older person or pressure from an uncle or something, the judge might decide, okay, you know what, this really is a childlike person, so we'll go ahead and prosecute them with the other kids that have committed crimes. I have never, in my experience, heard of a minor committing a murder and not being charged as an adult. Even as young as 14 are typically.
I thought that was interesting. I never heard that. So now, guess what I learned? What she just said. It's unheard of for a minor that takes somebody's life to not be charged as an adult. Good news. They were checked out as parents. Even if my kids were in separate rooms, I'd pop my head in before going to bed to say goodnight. Girl, there's so many things that this could have been prevented. This 16-year-old little monster. And I got to keep showing you. This is the monster. This is the monster that Anna Keaptainner was scared of. This is the monster that's out there at his uncle's house right now. Hasn't been arrested officially. Well, he's been arrested, but he hasn't been jailed. Okay? This little piece of garbage monster, still little, he has a smug look on his face. I cannot wait until the judge wipes that smug look off of his face and locks his ass up until trial. Then he'll be sitting in there for probably 3-4 years before it ever makes it to trial. Yes, please. Oh, that makes me so mad. I'm so mad about this whole thing. Now that we really know what happened, because we were all speculating. Well, he probably, since he climbed on top of her. No, we speculated right. He absolutely raped her and then strangled her. All right. That's a monster. All right.
Charged as an adult when they take the life of another.
Right now, so this indictment specifically mentions first-degree murder, aggravated sexual abuse. In a federal court, what does the prosecution have to prove to get a conviction on those specific labels?
So first-degree murder is kind of like it's a high level of murder. Of course, our government in the United States, every piece of our government is required to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So that means that the jury or the judges, whoever are determining the facts of the case, have to believe that these elements and the evidence, there's no doubt left at all.
Now, can we go a step further, Foxy? If we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it. I want to know exactly who thinks it's cool to put unrelated teens of the opposite sex in a cabin together. Let's go a step further and say, who the F thinks it's cool to put unrelated teens of the opposite sex in a cabin together when the one person was already threatening the other one and climbing on top of her, trying to rape her previously. Everybody knew about it, including her ex-boyfriend. The family knew about it. I'm telling you right now. I was going through the documentation. You'll see when we get into the discussion, those parents knew. All right? Period. They should be charged as well. I agree. That Tucson girl says dad better sleep with one eye open. Maybe his stepkid got the monster gene from his mom. You never know if it's going to flip out on him. Amen to that.
For a first-degree murder, that typically involves some intention. And for the crime of the sexual assault, that's actually relatively easy to prove depending on what type of sexual assault it was. There will be physical evidence on the victim's bodies. So they just need to prove that he intended to do it, that he wanted to do it. And I think in this case, that's relatively easy based off what a past boyfriend of Anna had come out and say, along with the fact that the family said that night she said, oh, I don't feel that good, I'm going to bed. And so she went back to the room, and then the boy purposely came back to the room as well, obviously with the intention to do something.
And again, guys, nobody was talking about that. FloJo says the parents knew better than to take the advice of the damn family. I think they didn't. I think they just didn't take it seriously, FloJo. I think that even though that they were warned, the boyfriend said the parents knew, and other people around the case are also going to testify that the parents knew better. All right. Screw the travel agent. It's the parents' fault, period. Yes, mom. Mama Guilty says parents Where'd it go? Parents are guilty as well. I agree. If you're going to start charging parents for giving their child guns, then charge these parents for doing this type of crime, because they're essentially they allowed this to happen.
And then that something occurred and then ended in her unfortunate and early demise.
Right. Now, Lauren, when the crime scene is a cruise ship and the witnesses are family members, what's the biggest challenge an attorney faces when trying to build a defense for a case this tragic?
So the attorney that faces the challenge in a courtroom is not the defense. The defense, they don't have the burden. The prosecution has a burden to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So they're going to have the most trouble. All the defense has to do is create some doubt. As long as there's doubt and reasonable doubt, they've done their job, right? So I think in terms of being in this contained ship and only having family members as witnesses is actually a bonus to the defense. I think that makes their job a lot easier, but it's going to be really, really difficult for the FBI. I mean, how do you find the 2,000 other witnesses that were on the boat? How do you find
Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, this case is not going to be too difficult to try, and I'm going to tell you why. When you look into the documents and you see the evidence that they have, now a lot of stuff we don't get, right? They're only going to give us some of that. But number one, when he was detained, he talked. That little shit talked without a lawyer. Then he signed away a waiver to be tried as an adult. I'm telling you right now, this is not going to be good for the defense. And I believe the prosecution has enough evidence to fully get first-degree murder and rape charges. So let's continue. What she's saying is just she's overalling it. She's not really looking at this particular case. Give me a second.
How do you find that? So the government is going to have a harder time proving their case. But I've said it on Fox 35 before, and I will say it again. When the federal government charges you as a citizen, you better understand and know that they have a case beyond a reasonable doubt. Unlike a local or state government, the federal government will not charge people until it knows it can prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. So we know the government is very confident in this case, and we know they've already won. I mean, back in February, these records were sealed because the young man was still being treated as a minor. And now all of a sudden we have access to everything because he's being treated as an adult. So the government is already winning as they fight the battles that get to the war.
Now, what is your perspective on how attorneys and law enforcement have handled this case so far?
From what I can see on this case, they've actually handled it very well. And I have mentioned this on this show before. Our federal agents, our FBI, our CIA, our federal prosecutors, with the exception of Pam Bondi, are incredible professionals. They're very intelligent. They know their burden.
So that's another thing, guys. Victoria, they were drinking on the boat, which typically isn't a huge deal. I got to tell you right now, we have huge family parties with my wife's side of the family, huge parties, right? And when you're having a huge party like that, sometimes teenagers, you'll see them grab a beer or this or that, it's like, but in this situation, they didn't give him his medication. They didn't give him his sleeping pills. And then they let him have alcohol. And then they put him in the room with a girl that she was already afraid of. He was already coveting her and wanting to do bad things to her. All right. So you add all of those things up, and then the parents not doing anything about it. There you go. Now this little girl, Anna Keaptainner, isn't going to make it to 19, guys.
They understand how to meet their burden, and they're not going to press charges unless they can do that. So I have no concerns whatsoever that the government has done what they need to do to prove the case. They have enough evidence to show definitively that it was this young man, that there could have been no other person that did it. And that is why they have pressed these charges, and as an adult.
Well, Lauren, I know you've been following this case closely for some time now. Anything else you'd like to add?
For me, I just did a little Googling before I came on, it's like, what is the liability on the parents?
There you go. And there's part of that conversation. What's the liability? When when are the prosecutors, when is the FBI, when are we going to start holding parents liable? They hold us liable for everything else. Why not that? I mean, hey, if we're taking care of our kids, we shouldn't be worried about it, right? If we're giving our kids good mental health care and we're not handing them guns, then we should be good, right? Now, listen, what happens next? I want you guys to realize that they're going to have a status conference. And once they have the status conference and everything is put on the table, they're going to formally need to arraign this little shithead sometime. All right. They need to arraign. There's a possibility that he could be arraigned any day. Now, prosecutors estimate that the trial itself is only going to be about 7 days long, guys. It's scheduled within 70 days of the indictment unless the defendant waived his right to a speedy trial, which I don't think happened. Now, Hudson is represented by Assistant Federal Public Defender Eric, Abigail, and Evan. He's got 3 public defenders in the South District of Florida, and the case is already assigned to District Judge Beth Bloom, with Magistrate Judge Edwin handling pretrial matters. All right, so I really want you guys to understand what the motion is. They got a motion for review and revocation of order release pursuant to the Bail Reform Act. They don't want this kid out there, all right? But I don't know why it hasn't happened yet. I don't know why they haven't locked his ass up. Oh, they're charging him as an adult, but that doesn't matter. They can still charge them. Okay, so let's say you get a school shooter. You're going to charge a school shooter as an adult. You can still charge their parents for giving them that. It's just like if you got a kid that's out there selling drugs and somebody dies, they're responsible for it. You got to take accountability.
A parent myself, I have a teenage daughter and I have a very young adult son. They would never, under my guidance, share a room with someone similar age of opposite sex that is not their blood relative. And so from what I can see, it is not illegal to allow your teen stepchildren to share a room. But it's gross and it's weird. And the fact that this even happened to me, when you're talking about 2 kids who still live at home, both the assailant and the victim are 2 children living at home, something is going on in that home.
Yep.
That could not be good. That is not a peaceful, loving home. Because out of peaceful, loving homes, stories like this do not come. So I would like to see some investigation into the parents. I know as a country, we're beginning to hold parents liable for children that do mass shootings at school, etc. I would like to understand some more about these parents and their liability. Why is there a 16-year-old boy and an 18-year-old girl in a room together? That makes no sense to me as a mother.
Well, Lauren Cadillac, attorney with Cadillac Law out of Texas, thank you so much for your perspective and joining us here today.
Thank you.
I agree 110%, and I think you all also do agree. All right, now let me just take a look at the rest of the documents. I'm not going to read all of them. I just want you to see what's going to happen next. Hopefully they arraign him and then they lock him up and they make the bail really high. All right, that's what they should do. I don't know. So this is the actual documentation. We're going to put it out on we will put it out on Ghost. So if you guys want to read through it, you can. All right. But basically, it's just a charging docs. A part of what I read earlier is in here. And what it talks about is the charges that he's got. Count 1, murder. And then they talk about Timothy Hudson perpetrating a murder at with malice aforethought and unlawfully killing with perpetration, and they're saying it's premeditated as well, and aggravated sexual abuse. All right. So that's what was sealed. We didn't get to hear about all this. It's now unsealed. All right. So unopposed motion. This is the motion I was talking about that was transferring Timothy to an adult status versus a minor. All right. Being in juvenile detention. So these are just all the documents. It talks about what happened here, etc., and what's next. All right, let's get into this. All right. How's everybody doing today? Good to see you. Hit that like button, guys. We don't have a huge crowd. I'm actually surprised more people aren't interested in the update, but maybe people will watch the replay. But I'm glad for you guys to be here. Thank you. If I missed anyone, I will get back to you. I'll check in a bit. All right, let's take a look. I did not know he was covering this. Surprisingly,
there was a lot of
he is, and we gotta talk about some of this
speculation about what happened, and a lot of that has now been confirmed, according to investigators, who now say that it is Anna's stepbrother who is responsible. And in this episode, I am going to get into some details that haven't been spoken about before, and I actually have a guest who knows all the ins and outs of the latest developments. But let me get through some of the basics with you first. She was found dead on the Carnival ship again, stuffed under the bed, covered with life jackets. In the room she was sharing with her stepbrother and also her half-brother. Pretty quickly, there was a lot of suspicion around her 16-year-old stepbrother, and all the family's baggage has come into light. We've all been covering the divorce proceedings because there has been information that's leaked out through these divorce proceedings about what...
Okay, so here's the thing, guys. We wouldn't even have known about any of this originally had there not been divorce proceedings with custody. All right. The only reason this came out is because they had to go to court for custody issues and the divorce, because he divorced his young little housekeeper babysitter that he had married a long time ago, and he remarried Chantel, which is the mother of this guy right here. Okay, so when that happened, that's the only reason that we even knew a little bit of what happened, is because of the court proceedings. Had we not, nobody would have known anything. This guy would just be walking around with his uncle. Now, listen, thank you, Mama Sage, so much for the $1.99 super sticker. Where'd you go? Back in the bushes? Who said that? Where are you here? You said something about Clementine, said someone needs to look into his uncle, and we have. We don't see anything about him. Did you miss that in the beginning? I showed you the uncle and his Facebook page. Nothing really to write home about, but I guess just family. Maybe he's a close family member. I don't know. I would not take that kid in at all. Even if I had no kids, I wouldn't trust him.
May have happened to Anna Keaptainner on the cruise. Now the stepbrother has officially been indicted in federal court on first-degree murder charges and aggravated sexual assault charges, and he is being charged as an adult. Now, all this is very, very unusual because it's not typical for a minor to be charged. He's 16, the stepbrother, to be charged in federal.
All right, we're going to go a little bit forward because we already went through all this. Realized that the half-sister was already dead.
And underneath the bed, which is just unimaginable to think about. Anna Keaptainner was a wonderful young woman. She planned on joining the U.S. Navy, becoming a police officer, and this whole story has just sort of been upsetting on a number of levels, but especially because from everything that we've heard, Anna was just, again, a wonderful young woman with a bright future ahead of her. I'm joined now by Ben Ashford, a senior investigative reporter for the Daily Mail and also a good buddy.
Yeah, I got a lot of different articles and things, and some of them are just really graphic. Most of them are. You can't get around this case. I mean, the TMZ put an article out and was like, Anna Keaptainner, cruise ship death. Feds say stepbro, and then just big letters, RAPED, her before MURDRER. There's only so many times I can say that, right? But that's essentially what he did, guys. He premeditatedly raped her and then strangled her, all right? And none of us would have known about any of this had the proceedings of divorce courts, etc., not been put out there. Good to see you, Denise. How you doing? She says, hello, everyone. Hello. All right, let's continue. Yes. Yep. They're all still together. I don't know how long that's going to last, though. We'll see, but they are.
Mine, and Ben has really been covering the Anna Keaptainner case better than anyone I know. He's been to so many of the hearings, the divorce hearings, and just sort of all the ups and downs from the last, since November 7th when all this started. Ben, were you expecting the stepbrother to be charged as an adult?
Yeah, very much so, to the point where I've been checking PACER, the online court records database, sort of daily for a month, because
Now remember, this is the same thing Plunder's doing. So if you're watching over on Plunder's channel and you have Patreon, that's what she's doing. That's where she got the documents. Luckily, I was lucky enough to get them from so kindly Kathy, True Crime Kathy. All right, so it's awesome to read through that stuff and see what's going on. It's just another side to it that it's almost unbelievable to read what he did to her, and that there were a lot of warning signs, and yet the parents continued to go deeper and deeper into it.
I mean, he was charged as a child or as a juvenile back on February the 2nd, and we were outside the federal court in Miami when he went in there. And of course, that was a closed door hearing, but we knew he'd been charged. We knew there was a murder charge and a serious sexual offense.
Hey guys, this message is sponsored by Raycon.
We don't want Raycon.
They couldn't even read the indictment until today. And as it happens, the indictment is very flimsy. It's only got a few pages and it really just lists the charges. So I think I was personally expecting a bit more detail today, finally.
Yeah, me too. But hey, we got the detail that we needed, and that's it. I am surprised, but guys, I'm not sad to not have to read those details, because I got to tell you, man, I have nightmares sometimes when I read these details of the case. Ugh, I might even have a nightmare about this tonight, but at least we don't have to get too graphic. All right. She does watermark hers. I don't really understand the so-called parents. I don't know.
But we didn't even get that. So the fact that he's been charged, well, we knew that months ago. The fact that he's been charged as an adult.
All right, so this is in Florida, and it's only in Florida because that's where they live. But federal jurisdiction has taken over, and they're going to try this case along with Florida because that's where they live. That's where they landed. When they went home, it was in Florida. All right. I think once the kid hits 21, the parents are no longer liable for what they do. I think it's 18, but you're just saying in general.
We knew that process had been underway like a long time ago as well.
Do we know any more about like why he would have done this?
Yeah.
Because it seems like at least he did well in school. He seemed like a good kid for a while. I mean, to just suddenly, it doesn't have a criminal history from what we know, to just suddenly rape and allegedly kill your stepsister on a cruise. Have you been able to figure it out at all? Like what led up to this?
Well, I mean, certainly he comes from a broken home. His father and his mother had ongoing divorce, custody issues. He was in a blended home. But, you know, that's reality for a lot of kids. I think what is shocking here is how unusual it is. And
you guys, you got to admit, I mean, we do case after case after case. And how often have we heard this happen? I'm going to answer for you. Not often. All right. Although it's scary, statistically, the cases that we cover, this almost never happens. But if we have to blame somebody first, let's blame Timothy Hudson. Put his name out there, guys. He's now being charged as adult. Screw the TH. And Anna Keaptainner needs to be out there as well, so she gets the justice she deserves. Golden Hand, what's up, my girl? Hey, great coverage on an extremely difficult, disgusting crime. What was the history on him? There was no history on him, Golden Hand. The only thing was there was not official history, but her ex-boyfriend said that there was several times where he tried to get on top of her and do sexual things. And one time the boyfriend witnessed him getting on top of her in an inappropriate sexual way. And other family members said that as well. And the only other thing is he has ADHD. He was taking clonidine, which is blood pressure medication. And then essentially to sleep, it was equivalent to what do you call that? Like an antihistamine or something. All right. So none of those can be blamed for that. That's absolutely ridiculous. If you look into what they're trying to say that he didn't take, that would never have affected somebody to do what he did. I'm not going to believe that ever.
That's reflected in this sort of labyrinthine process just to get him into court and to to start the case. They spent months figuring out what to do with him because it's so unusual to have a federal murder case with a kid. But I spoke to his dad today, and I said, what is Timothy's position? And he said, last time I spoke to him, he was still saying, I can't remember. Oh, yeah, I don't know what happened. Hasn't expressed any remorse, hasn't apologized, anything like that. So they're still, the family have still got a lot.
Maybe he's just a little psychopath in the making and a bunch of other things that he needs to be diagnosed with, right? Because that's what it sounds like to me. A little incel twat waffle. That is your final say? Okay. No, I can't. And I can't imagine it happening over and over. And then the parents do nothing. They just can let it continue. Why didn't they? Oh, I'm so there's woulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda.
A lot of questions about what's happened. I say the indictment just had a couple of paragraphs, just like technical details of the charge. So I'd love to be able to give you chapter and verse on why a 16-year-old boy does something unspeakable, allegedly, but I don't think anyone knows the answer. I think we'll probably be asking that question for years.
I remember there was reporting early on that I think it was her ex-boyfriend who said that she was afraid of her stepbrother.
That's perfect timing that you chimed in, Golden Hen. Why would the parents allow knowing this? They had some inclination. Right when you said that, that's the inclination that we know they had at least once. But I've heard several people saying that Timothy had the hots for his sister and a crush on her, and he'd try to be close to her. And the ex-boyfriend said that he got on top of her while they were on a FaceTime. Okay, so you don't do that. That's just not what you do. Parents did know. Parents did have a big inclination. They were told, they were warned, and they still continue to do what they do. I've seen too many episodes of cruise ship K-words to everyone go on one. Yeah, I'm not going on a cruise. I'm good. But that's it right there. So we are talking about charging the parents, although I don't think that's going to happen. We're just speculating that. I haven't seen any indications that the parents will be charged.
Did any more come of that, or why she was scared of him? And also why they would share a room together, why the parents would have let her share a room with him if she was scared of him?
From what I can tell, the FBI, the family, did not ascribe to that point of view. They did not think that there was a problem between them. I think in the court hearing, the custody hearing for one of the younger children, they were described as sort of best friends, the three amigos. The parents were actually in a cabin directly opposite. So there's been a lot of criticism of
criticism because it's not just speculation. These are people that said they witnessed this. They told the parents, and the parents just didn't listen. All right. If the potato hasn't gotten charged yet, what makes anyone think these people will? I don't. I honestly don't. We're talking about it, but I don't think they will. I really don't. The fact that they've got Timothy out there right now, not even out on bond. There's nothing to secure that he's not going to just be sent out of the country and we'll never see him again. All right. They're just not. And that's not good.
The parents saying, what are you doing? Why are you letting a female be in a room with two boys, which would have been her half-brother and her stepbrother? But in fairness, the parents were literally across the corridor in a room opposite. And a lot of families go on cruises. It's expensive. They all sort of bunk together in rooms like that. There are multiple beds in one room to so the families can do that. So I'm not judging it one way or the other, but that was the situation. The parents were directly opposite. And that, as far as I know, there was not some history of her being afraid of him or anything like that.
Was there any concern from her family about this cruise before it happened?
Well, when you say her family, that's a very complicated picture, because she's got a biological mother who has come out and said Anna was concerned about the cruise, but the extent of which they communicated before the cruise is, it seems like they were basically estranged from one another. I guess the woman who considered herself her mother is separated from Christopher. So Christopher Kepner's her dad. She was raised by Tabitha Kepner, but they're no longer married. And the stepmother that's on the scene now is Chantel Hudson. So when you say, is the family worried? I mean, the family is this sort of shifting like array of relatives and family setup. But from what I can remember, a lot of the family went on the trip. So you had Christopher on the trip, you had her half brother, you had other siblings, and then you had her grandparents who apparently she had like a fantastic relation.
Now, the grandparents are the people that turned her on to going on cruises. They took her, she loved it, they wanted to go back. I don't have that video, but if you want to send me a link to it, I looked for it and I don't see it. There's an Elf on the Shelf video with the Hudsons, I guess. Yeah, if you guys want to send it to me, to my guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com, I'd be happy to play it for y'all. All right, let's continue.
With. So you had all these parents, guardians on the trip. So it didn't appear like they had great concerns. You know, they appeared like they were having a great time. And it appeared to them, to the parents, that the kids got along.
Guys, I think that's total, utter BS. And let me just tell you why real quick. This just came out seconds ago. Hold on, let me move this. I just want to show you. The articles keep coming, right? This just happened yesterday. We just found out about this yesterday. And it's true. During the court proceedings, the parents said the two peas in a pod. Anna Keaptainner and her stepbrother, the parents literally quoted two peas in a pod. Then he was indicted for allegedly, it's all alleged, sexually abusing and strangling her to death on a cruise. Those parents are quoted as saying they were like two peas in a pod. All right. But I want you to realize that I think that could be the farthest from the truth. All right, let's continue. I can't believe that they're saying that. I wonder if they didn't think that the autopsy was going to come out. I wonder what the parents thought was going to happen. They were going to sweep it under the rug.
One report you're talking about, a friend of hers or an ex-boyfriend said this very early on at a memorial service.
You don't know.
And I don't know that, from what I can see, it was never really borne out in the subsequent investigations and what people said. I didn't hear something similar. That account seems to be a kind of just a bit of an outlier as far as I know.
What?
Did people within the family suspect the stepbrother early on? Or, I mean, did they think that like someone broke into the room and did they like or were all eyes kind of on him from the beginning?
My understanding is he was the prime and only suspect from the very beginning, because
remember, they had video footage of a little bit of a tiff with them. Allegedly, there was some kind of fight that they had out in the hallways. Now, Anna went back into the room and on video, and when you're on a cruise ship, there are cameras everywhere. And the cameras caught her going into the room, him going into the room at some point, and her never coming out again until the maid found her underneath the bed, naked, wrapped in sheets and flotation devices. All right. So, I mean, you can't really dispute that. People don't just disappear, right? And it happened on the last day. Yes, the cameras are everywhere. I'm telling you, they have some good evidence, in my opinion. They're going to present some video at the trial if they have one.
It was very quickly established that he had been in the room alone with her at the time. Her half-brother was effectively like a brother to her. Another boy who's 14, I believe. He was also in the room, but he had gone out. So I was told that he went around the ship taking pictures to post.
So they put her in the room with two boys. I didn't even, it's not that I didn't realize that, but I did. Now I'm just going to say it out loud. Anna Keaptainner was 18 years old barely, and they put her in a room with her 16-year-old stepbrother and her 14-year-old brother. They put her in the room with two boys and didn't even check on them. I know. He signed off on that. Thank goodness for housekeeping, right? That wouldn't have went over so well had the boat docked and they found a body under the bed.
Based on social media, and actually one of his social media accounts, it had some he'd taken some like nice portraits of the ship. And I think that was effectively an alibi, and that meant that they were alone. And when he came back to the room, he didn't see his sister, and he believed that maybe she'd gone back out and hung out with the adults, because he was a young boy, she was an adult, and so she could have gone out to hang out with her parents or grandparents. So he just went to bed.
Well, you guys are right. He absolutely could have slipped something into her drink to make her feel sick, to make her go back to the room. Now, she did say her braces were hurting, but who knows what else happened. Again, we've heard from the medical examiner, and in the medical examiner report, we didn't see the actual report. We just know it was mechanical asphyxiation, which is basically like an arm hold like that. I didn't see anything about toxicology saying she was, drunk, or I'm pretty sure they said toxicology was all clean. So I don't want to speculate on that too much, because I believe that toxicology came back with nothing in her system, not even alcohol.
He didn't know that at that point she was actually underneath one of the beds in the room. She was already dead at that point. So that's one of the macabre elements of the story. This younger boy went to bed not knowing his sister was, a few feet away and was already dead. It's absolutely shocking, horrible for that boy in particular.
Yeah, I think that's one of the more awful details with this whole thing, is that the half brother went to bed in the room not realizing that his sister was dead.
Yeah, that's crazy. And the little psychopath that we are seeing, this guy, put his name out there, guys. Timothy Hudson, 16 years old, now being charged as an adult. All right. Now, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, just so that we don't speculate on it too much. I just remembered from the last time that preliminary toxicology reports actually showed that there were 0 drugs or alcohol in Anna Keaptainer's system. According to the early findings, the final toxicology report hasn't been publicly released, but we do have the results, and it's reported no drugs, no alcohol at all in Anna Keaptainer's system. All right. So if they find something weird, maybe the toxicology later on finds that he put a Xanax in her food, whatever. But right now, nothing. There's nothing in her toxicology report to say that she was drugged or that she even drank. All right. So I just want to let you guys know that before we go too far off. All right.
Essentially stuffed under the bed. Was the stepbrother not in there sleeping also?
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. He slept the night. Yeah. I'd have to check this, but I believe he slept. I think that the boys had the bunks and she had a bed. But I'm not sure if either of them were directly above her. But yeah, they both slept in the room. And then the next day, I think they went for breakfast. And at that point, the family sort of said, "Where's Anna?" And I think they were kind of trying to figure out where she was. And that's when.
Wait, why would clonidine do anything to her, Jen Johnson? Clonidine is clonidine is just a blood pressure medication. I don't think that. I mean, I'm sure they did toxicology, and when they do toxicology, it's like a 15-panel screen. It probably would show up. But what would that do? I don't think it would do anything unless you gave someone like 5 of them. I mean, clonidine is just not that strong, guys. I gotta tell you. All right, it's barely anything. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you crushed up a ton of it, but I just can't imagine what it would do. Yeah, and he slept on the bed. She was under. Yes, that's what I'm saying. How did he sleep all night with her there? He knew she was dead all night, and he just went to sleep and then went to if you take too much, you'll pass out. Okay. All right. Well, then that was the preliminary toxicology, and I'm not even going to go there with it because I've seen what clonidine does and the side effects. It may make you sleepy, but it doesn't mean that it does. All right. Just take my word for that. Let's continue.
an emergency came out on the ship's public address system asking for the medical people to go to the room that the trio were staying in. And so that's when Christopher, the dad, sprinted up to the stateroom and basically walked in just after a maid or like a member of like the cleaning crew had just found the body. So he more or less got there at the same time that it was discovered.
And she was strangled to death. Is that
Now, remember, he had, I don't know if you remember this or not, probably not. He was taking clonidine and they also gave him something like Xanax. All right. I don't know if it was actually that. I'm sure that knowing what medication he took, they probably screened for that. And I just don't want to go off on a tangent. I don't think he needed to drug her. I think she just wasn't feeling good. She went to lay down. Boys are physically and scientifically stronger than women, period. Maybe she was sleeping. Maybe she was sleeping. He attacked her, raped her, and then strangled her. But the whole bottom line is I just don't want to go off on a tangent about her being drugged when toxicology says she had nothing in her system. All right. She was. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to go there if it said no already.
right?
Yeah, it was mechanical asphyxiation, I think was written on the death certificate.
Do we know any more about the timeline of how it happened? I mean, how they ended up in the room alone and where the rest of the family was?
They were at dinner. I don't even know why he's asking that. I think DeBryanette maybe never covered this case before. I should just answer that. They were all at dinner, guys. All of them were. It's a buffet style dinner. They were eating. She said her braces was hurting. She didn't feel good. We don't know the times. We know that she went in fairly early, and then he followed her based on the cameras. All right. So I'm not going to even get in that because we don't know. And I've looked at the documents, and there's no closer times. He'll be kind of diplomatic in a way.
I want the justice system to take its course. But if you ask him right now, they're really angry. He wants Timothy in custody. What they can't understand is that he was charged on the February the 2nd.
Thank you.
And actually, when we went there to cover that, we were told he was going to surrender to the federal jail next door, or the federal detention center, and be walked across, in handcuffs as a suspect you'd expect. But he didn't. That actually didn't happen. And
So that's what Anna Keaptainer's mom's talking about, is they never gave him a formal arrest. They never put handcuffs on him and did the walk of shame like they would do with everyone else. And yeah, Flojo, clonidine is actually blood pressure medication. If you look at it, it's blood pressure medication, but you'll take it at night and it slows you down. If you have ADHD, I don't think that it would work for insomnia, but yes, Concerta, that one, no, I got to tell you, clonidine is for ADHD now, my friends. So Concerta would be an additional. I don't think what I read is that he took clonidine for his ADHD and he took some kind of antihistamine like Madeline Soto took to go to sleep. All right. Yeah, because they're not going to give him two. They're not going to give him Concerta and clonidine. And I'm telling you right now, they gave him clonidine for his ADHD. Ask me how I know, because I have 2 children that have ADHD really bad, and they use clonidine, not Concerta. And they wouldn't use Concerta with clonidine.
Came from another direction and walked into court. And then, of course, he walked out of court. He went over the road, he got fitted with a GPS ankle tag, and that's it. They just let him go. And he's now at a location in Central Florida with a paternal uncle. And the family are like, they're just absolutely gobsmacked by that. They can't believe that a murder suspect is allowed to basically be out and do what he wants. And albeit he probably can't do what he wants, but their main thing is that he should be in custody because they feel he could be a danger, not just to other people, but to himself. He should be monitored. And so they released a statement back in February and reiterated it to me today that they all, and that includes Chantel, I believe the boy should be in custody and not just, have an ankle tag and be at an uncle's house deep in the woods where it's probably hard to get to him quickly. So yeah, all of them would like him to be arrested, put somewhere where he's monitored and watched, and so yeah, that's
now this is in Florida because that's where they live. They were out on the international waters. That's why federal jurisdiction came in, federal prosecutors, FBI came in because of that. But with federal prosecutors and Florida, they are now they've indicted him as an adult with the 2 charges we didn't know about. We knew that asphyxiation, so we were like, okay, strangulation, but we didn't know the level of we just speculated that he took all of her clothes off, raped her, and then, took her life. I have a pink one. Yeah, you guys, hashtag take your meds. Does this make a noise? It used to. Oh yeah, it does. I forgot. Can you guys hear that? It just keeps going.
their main concern at the moment. They can't understand why he is still at liberty.
Yeah, that's one of the more unusual things about this story to me is I don't think I've ever covered someone charged as an adult with murder and rape who is not in jail.
He's never been in custody, Starluck Jewelry. That's the problem. He's never been in custody. He's never even been handcuffed. They took him in. They hid all of the facts from us because he was a minor. They finally got unsealed due to the grand jury hearing. He waived his right he waived it, so he's not going to contest being a minor. He says, I'll be charged as an adult. He's never been in custody. He's not even on bail. He's out there free. Nobody's house is going to get taken away if he doesn't return back to jail or to a hearing or what have you, which is bad. That's not good. Not a good thing. He can literally escape and go to a country with no extradition, and there's no consequences on the family or the money. Normally they'll give you a high bail, right? They'll give you like $1 million bail. Sure, you make it, you put your house up, but if that little shithead runs, they're going to take your house. They have nothing on the line, and they're just letting them out there. An ankle monitor? Come on. How many times? What do they do with ankle monitors? They cut them off, and they do it anyway. Yeah, that's BS.
Without a bond or with a very, very high bond. Nope. I mean, was there, before he was actually charged, like, was he able to go to school and stuff?
I don't think he's been back to school since the incident.
Yeah, I don't think
because he attended the same school as Anna, so he was taken out of school.
Yeah, no way.
And he went off to stay with family members, and eventually the court that's dealing with custody issues between his mother and father, that court sort of formalized that arrangement, and he was put in the care of a paternal uncle in a very rural setting in Central Florida. I've actually been there.
Now, again, I love that this guy knows so much. He's been talking to the family, and you should be, because now that we know what happened, and he's just running around with his uncle and able to work and go to fast food if he wants, do whatever he wants. This sick little, he can be watching corn all day, right? And there's nothing that any of us could do. Of course they would kick him. They wouldn't let him go to that school. That was the same school that Anna went to. No way.
Went for the Daily Mail and spoke to Timothy briefly. And my understanding is that is where he is now, and that's where he's been the whole time. So, yeah, I would be amazed if he was going to school. He couldn't be going to the same school because that location is at least an hour away from, his school. So I think
when you spoke to him, he was just free, like able to walk around outside.
True.
I mean, what was that situation like?
Well, we drove past the address where we believe the address was redacted in the court documents, and I wouldn't call it guesswork, but we had when we got there, we weren't entirely sure what we were going to find because it wasn't spelled out. So when we got there, there was actually the house where he's staying is set back down a trail in woods and so forth. But there was a little kiosk by the road, and it was selling firewood for $5 a bundle. This is when there was that unusually cold snap. I think it might have been January.
He was selling bundles of sticks. Now he's working for his uncle and his dad. All right. So he is actually working and in contact. What if there's a neighbor? You know, we just covered the FedEx guy that kidnapped the little girl. Now, when the trial's proceeding and you look at the evidence, he was there. That FedEx driver was caught on camera before. He had seen that little girl allegedly. You think this kid's not out there doing bundle firewood? And what happens if he sees a little girl or a neighbor that he wants to take what he wants? What is that? What? That makes no sense. If you guys are watching that case of the FedEx driver, it is very disturbing.
And we drove past and we saw someone in the rearview mirror stop and like take some firewood.
No.
And by the time we turned round, the person had driven off, and up came Timothy on a little buggy to replenish the firewood and take the money. So yeah, we just saw him out in the street running his little business. I mean, if this was a normal,
you hear that? He has contact with all the public. Yes, Mom. He's been out. He's never been handcuffed. He's never done a walk of shame. And he's walking around selling random people. Now, imagine if he fixates on some lady or a neighbor comes out and he fixates on her. And this is unbelievable that not only is he out, but he's interacting with the public like nothing ever happened. I totally understand he's almost an adult and his mom was not the one physically taking his life. I still couldn't stay. I know. And listen, Starluck, they're not going to, I am going to tell you right now, 90% of couples that have some kind of, either they lose a child, from death, or they lose a child from causing death, they split apart. 90% of couples do not make it. So I don't think they're going to make it. I think they're trying to figure out what's coming, and we'll eventually see that they're not going to stay together. Yeah. Has anyone checked the cows and the sheep? That's a good question.
Kid, you'd say, good on you, making a bit of money, pocket money, and doing something good. But yeah, this was the suspect ultimately accused of murdering his sister, and he was running this little firewood stall in the street. And I went up and I said, look, I don't know if you can talk to me, and maybe an adult inside could supervise. It was a very strange situation. I can't say that I've ever
run into that,
challenged or approached for comment a boy before accused of murder, or nothing like that. So I didn't really know what to do, and it felt slightly inappropriate to kind of do the usual reporter thing and hiss him with questions. So
good night, Kathy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the gifted membership. Thank you for the documents. Get some rest. We will do a collab at some point. For sure. All right, let's continue.
I actually gave my card and said, why don't you go in and ask an adult maybe to come out here and we could talk about it. And he got back in his little buggy, I don't know what you call it, like a golf cart, but off-road, and zoomed back up the driveway. And I never heard anything more about them. Never heard anything. They never called me. So
ridiculous.
So you saw him that time, and have you seen him another time? Was it the other time outside court?
The only other time that we've seen him is out selling firewood in the sticks and at court, where, as I say, we were told.
You guys, this is even more. I did not watch the Brian Etten one. I caught like the end of it, but I was like, Brian Etten's coverage is great. So let's hear what he has to say. And now this is the first time I'm listening to this part. Thank you, Flojo, by the way. I just, actually, let me remove this and put the image file up. I couldn't read the other one was the problem, but I do want you guys to see this timeline real quick of the day. And I want you to see the medication too. So if you look at the bottom, medication and ADHD, her son has ADHD. We're talking about Timothy. All right. So ADHD diagnosed 3 or 4 years ago. He takes Concerta. Thank you for this. So he does take Concerta each morning. That must be for the ADHD. And they give him clonidine. That's interesting. That must be a high dose. They give him clonidine at night for insomnia. She confirmed she kept possession of his meds during the cruise. he missed 2 doses of clonidine, which means that he wasn't sleeping. He was up just being, just thinking evil thoughts, apparently. All right. Well, thank you. I did not see that. I don't know where that even came from, but Flojo sent it. Thank you. Thank you. So timeline, guys, this is a pretty tight timeline. November 6th, 2025. When you go back to that, the last time that we saw Anna was about 6:30 on November 6th, 2025. And that was because they were all at dinner and she said her braces hurt. She was going back to the room. Now, last time Chantel saw her son, Timothy, was shortly before 7 p.m. on the same night. So sometime between 6:30 and 7 p.m., they were both in the room together. Now, he told her he was heading back to the teens' room or their room. Chantel, Timothy's mom, states both teens said they were going back to their room. Now, Chantel returned to her own room around 7 to 7:30. So now you've got the 6:30, 7 o'clock time frame. 30 minutes later, Chantel goes into her room, doesn't check on any of the kids. Then she testifies that she went to sleep and did not check on the teens again that night. She also said she did not see Christopher leave the room and doesn't know if he checked on the teens. All right. After Anna's death, she was discovered. A child passed away Friday morning, November 7th. They gave the time of 11 a.m. when the house cleaning lady found her. Chantel then testified that she and her father mutually decided 16-year-old should live with a relative. She states that this was due to looking out for the safety of the other children in the home. She then confirmed that 16-year-old Timothy is the only person considered as a suspect in Anna's death. And then she testifies that even if the FBI investigation concluded, he will not return home. Well, duh, shouldn't they have done that before, you guys? What the heck? They knew that before. Now they're doing it. Why? Because they have to, and this little bastard's being charged. Excuse my language on that, but it pisses me off. What I do like about Brian Anton is he gets all the details, and this guy was literally in the face of Timothy, and he didn't want to ask him for an interview because he was a minor. Well, now he's being charged as an adult, so ask away.
In advance that he was going into the in Miami, there's a federal court building with a detention center next to it. So we were told, look at the detention center. He will go in. He will then be led in an internal walkway after he's been charged, like all prisoners, into court. And it didn't happen. And then he suddenly came from the other direction. He walked into court. He's wearing a hoodie. He's wearing a hat.
Now he's talking about him going into court. We saw them going into court. That's him. He's got a hoodie, a hat. He hid his face. Now the biological dad was having they were having custody issues. That's how we even found all of this out. All right, but that guy also has children, and he is not safe in the house. Nobody's safe with them because hindsight's 2020, right? Bastard. Thanks for saying it first. He's a bastard, man. He looks all innocent. I'm telling you, he doesn't look like a typical monster, but he is. So we can't judge on that anymore, can we? Looks don't mean a thing.
No one would put him in a suit or anything. Maybe a suit. You wouldn't expect a suit for a 16-year-old, but at least maybe a shirt and tie and looking smart. I was told that inside the court, he did take his hoodie off and he did have a shirt, but he looked exactly as he did when I saw him on his little buggy. He just was wearing like camouflage, like hoodie and cap. He looked like a little boy. Like he's not. This is not a case of a little. This is not a case of a kid who.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Flojo. And Weaponized Cats became a YouTube member. Welcome to the Guilty of Crime Crew. Thanks, Flojo. You're awesome. You guys, if you haven't subbed up already, go sub up to Flojo. You guys know.
Who you look at and think, wow, he looks 21 and he's 16. No, you look at this boy and you think he's a little skinny, small boy. And you actually wonder how he could be physically capable of it, let alone mentally capable of it. But you wonder how a kid this small and scrawny could overpower anyone, even if it's a female. I mean, he looks weedy, for want of a better word.
Yes.
Does he have any mental illness that you know of? I'm just trying to think how someone, snaps and does this, especially the way you're describing him.
They in one of the family court hearings, they said he was taking medication for ADHD. I don't know if you can't really describe that as a mental.
No, you can't. And they're also not using, if they were using Adderall, I might say, okay, maybe he went on a psychotic bender because, you know, you guys know that Adderall has methamphetamines in it, right? Or uppers. It basically is a methamphetamine. That's why a lot of people still buy ADHD pills and they take them so they can study for college, etc. That would be different, but Concerta doesn't do that. Concerta's a long lasting, right? It disperses itself all day long. I'm sure it's like the 24-hour one. And just because you don't take your sleeping pills at night, boy, have I never wanted to grape somebody or strangle them or any of that when I don't sleep. And I assure you, when I don't sleep, I'm not a happy camper, but I sure as hell I'm not going to do that. My miracle drug. Is that you talking about Concerta or Adderall?
Illness.
No, yeah, that's like every other kid.
Every other kid, and what does that mean? You know,
Right.
And the other thing which struck me as a little bit more unusual was he's on like insomnia medication.
It's an upper. You got it. Methylphenidate, whatever how you say that. I just call it meth. Another name of Ritalin. It has uppers in it, but yeah, you're right. Methylphenidate. I never know how to say those. One of them was quetiapine, and then we called it quetiapine because that's how it looked, and we were being silly. Do you know what quetiapine is, right, Flojo? Anyway, Adderall for narcolepsy and depression. Well, listen, no shoot vaccine. If that's working for you, amen. All right, Concerta is it really? I thought it wasn't. Oh, thank you for looking that up. I did not know that. I thought it was okay. I love when you guys do this. Methylphenidate. Thank you. Methylphenidate. God, I love you guys. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I called quetiapine. Carly would laugh if she were here. Anyway, methylphenidate. Okay, thank you. I did not know that. Well, that's still not going to, trust me, both of my children have ADHD. My 26-year-old son does real bad, and he's missed his medication, and I assure you, he would not do that. He was actually taking, not Ritalin, the other one when he was younger. And yeah, that's just an excuse in my opinion. I sure do. Seroquel. There you go. It's actually called quetiapine. Is it quetiapine like this? I think it's spelled like this. Watch. It just makes me laugh because it's actually called quetiapine or Seroquel, but we called it quetiapine. Thank you, Michelle. You guys are awesome. That's our joke. Now that I know how to pronounce it, it's not funny anymore.
So clearly I think you could maybe draw some conclusion that he had a sort of unsettled state of mind, or, you know, having to,
oh no.
I mean, ADHD drugs help you focus, don't they? They're like uppers, and then you can't sleep. So you take more drugs to bring you down to sleep. So that's probably fairly typical.
So you guys, I get you laughing. That's why you guys keep coming back, even on the toughest of subjects. I could just make a funny face, and y'all think that's funny. All right, listen, yeah, Seroquel takes for depression and sleep. Now, listen, big prayers to you, Amy. I'm sorry that happened to you. I really hope that your place is getting replaced by insurance. We've had that happen to us. We had the Napa fire. The Napa fires were in, what year was that? Damn it. I don't remember when the big Napa, California fires burnt down our motorhome. Right, but that wasn't our only house. And then this last 2 years, the roof caved in and we had to spend 2 years redoing the house. So mad prayers to you and your husband. Please tell me that you are having your insurance cover it and you're okay. All right, let us know because that's tough. I know. I went through it and it sucks. I never want to go through that again. Not only losing my damn trailer, but also the house. Bink. All right, let's continue. Prayers to you.
combination. But I wouldn't want to be on those drugs, and I probably wouldn't want my kids on those drugs. And maybe his parents didn't want him on those drugs, but that's what the doctors said he needed. But that seems like, for me, that seems like an interesting concoction for.
Yeah, it is an interesting concoction. That's what I was saying. I didn't understand that. We took our son off of anything that had anything in it, period. We took him off of all that because he said, Mom, when it wears off, I just feel really bad. Like I just want to, never wake up or what have you. That's depression. If that's causing depression, then take them off of it. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
For a 16-year-old boy to be on, drugs, one set taking him up, one set taking him down. But I'm not an expert, that's the only thing I've heard about any kind of medical conditions or anything like that.
Yeah, I thought that was.
I'm just thinking back to you seeing him selling firewood as he's a suspect for murdering his stepsister and raping her.
Right.
Something about that just doesn't sit well with me, that he, even though he looks unassuming and is 16 and is a skinny kid, I mean,
take your
it just seems like that's he's a danger to society. And that was before he even had the ankle monitor. Is that right?
Yeah.
So he had no ankle monitor, no nothing.
That was when he was a suspect before he'd been charged.
And now, even though he has been charged with murder and raping his stepsister, he has the ankle monitor, but he's still free. He is
110% free. I think this guy's probably going to talk about the federal agents wanting to get him locked up. I really hope that happens. Of course, Flojo, the best drugs are always out of stock. Why wouldn't they be? Oh my goodness, you guys, what is this world coming to?
And he's living with the same uncle.
Forgive me to correct you slightly. He's charged with murder in the first degree and aggravated sexual abuse. However, when you read the indictment, it's murder in the course of committing a sexual abuse. I've never heard it quite phrased like that. Well,
that's because whatever he told them and the evidence they have, you guys, that's what's telling the story. Now, the story is real small, and you can look at the charging documents. You can look at all the unsealed documents. It doesn't say that until we start to read the charges and understand that he was in the middle of doing that when he took her life. But they're calling it premeditated. So I don't know what he told them. I don't see a document that has statements from this kid. All right. Hello, Sander. We're physically all right. We got out and all the animals, no insurance because it was a crap trailer. We were doing one room left and boom. I know, my friend. I do know how that is. And I pray for you. 8 milligrams. That's a lot, right?
It does say the sexual abuse element is penetrating her privates with his privates. So I personally wouldn't have any problem describing that as rape in overall terms. That's not the actual charge. I don't know why I believed that was going to be the charge, but the charge is aggravated sexual abuse. But if you read the indictment, the mechanical act they describe, I mean, sounds very much like a rape. So when I say I'm correcting you, I'm actually not really, but the wording of the charge is aggravated sexual abuse.
Is your sense that he's free because it's such an unusual situation? The federal system is not really set up for someone who's 16. And in a sense, he's kind of slid through the cracks in a way, and they don't really know what to do with him. I mean, is that what's going on here?
Well, I think their argument would be, we had to dot every I and cross every T, and we don't want to make any mistakes or screw things up.
I was going to say that, guys. I think the only reason they're going about it the way they are is because he's a minor. They're in uncharted territory, no pun intended, and they're trying to figure out how to proceed with a case like this. All right. So I really do hope that they lock him up in the meantime. Now they're talking a lot about what we talked about in the beginning. And also, did you guys know something interesting? Yeah, Xanax can cause you to have a seizure. Mama Pearl, Mom, you remember Reese's birthday, Baby Guilty's birthday party? Do you remember Rhiannon, the babysitter? Remember she was holding her baby and she just collapsed. We were having a big birthday party, and the babysitter is also a friend of ours just had a baby, and she stopped taking her Xanax, and I thought she died. We were in the middle of having a party, and bam, she just fell on the floor and dropped her baby. Come to find out, it was detox from Xanax. Mom, you probably remember that. You were here then. A bouncy house outside. Rhiannon was Baby Guilty's original caretaker, but I took her out of that. After that, I put her into a place where you could do school and stuff, because I was like, if that happens again, not on my watch. Yeah, you remember we had so many people at our house. We were having a huge party. Next thing you know, the ambulance was here. Also, another fun fact. Did you know that it's very unlikely to overdose on Xanax alone? It very, very, very unlikely and very uncommon. Now, the danger increases when it's combined, and 99% of the people that OD from Xanax combine it with alcohol, some kind of other opioids or sedatives, and that will cause their heart to stop. But Xanax alone causes sedation, confusion, subconscious fluid breathing, but they don't see. It's a very, very, very rare case of people overdosing on Xanax alone. It's always Xanax plus another antidepressant of some sort. So I want you to realize that, number one. Number two, never give somebody Xanax and then on top of that, take their sleeping pills, because that can cause that as well. Yeah, it can be very deadly, cause seizures. That's what happened. All right, let's continue.
Court case I look up, but right now it's not.
It's also kind of interesting, the indictment. You mentioned it's not that detailed. Normally, and sometimes federal indictments I found aren't that detailed, but they usually have some synopsis. We saw on surveillance camera him go out in the room at this time, leave at this time. There was no one else in the room besides her. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
And there was nothing like that, you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, the document I saw had like no narrative in it whatsoever. It just sort of said at a time and a place, i.e. the high seas, and last November, the defendant did commit, and then one charge, the technical wording of the charge. And
yeah, see, we didn't even know the wording of the charges or what happened. Now, of course, alcohol withdrawal can also create seizures and take your life. But in this case, we're not talking about that because, I don't think that even got to the level of alcohol. I think this kid probably had a couple of drinks and he didn't take his medication. So yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with it. You say your drug friends mixed with morphine. Oh, there's another thing too. A lot of times someone will be drugged by their friends or given something that has fentanyl. And then at that point you can die, obviously, right? That's lethal.
And the second charge, technical wording of the charge, and then it was signed off, and then there was just a fact sheet, like ticking the box. Is it a death penalty case? No. What's the possible sentence? Life. To be honest, it had about as much information as you might get on like a traffic citation or something. It really was the bare bones.
Really?
You're right that sometimes it's kind of seems luck of the draw. Some cases, if I'd have opened that up and seen 60 pages, I wouldn't have been surprised. There's very often these things are really long. They include evidence or text messages or all kinds of.
Yeah, this doesn't. And I'm going to take a look at this Flojo, and I want to upload that MP4 because I don't know what the deal is with MP4s on my computer, but when I try to stream them through StreamYard, it doesn't like them. It always wants me to upload, and I can make it private on my account and share it from YouTube. But as far as to get an MP4 just to play seamlessly through StreamYard, just doesn't work. I don't know why. All right. I wasn't even talking about the case, Miss J. That's what I'm saying. That's why I didn't want people to get confused about the case and think that alcohol is in his system. So I was making it clear to everybody, because a lot of people don't read the chat. They're just listening to me talk And if they're listening to me talk while they're doing dishes and they hear me talking about alcohol and whatever, then they're like, oh, was he drunk? So I don't want people to get the wrong impression.
Stuff. And that may come at a later date, but the actual indictment, the complaint, was very bare bones, which does happen. But I think, I mean, I said when I spoke to one of the family members, they hadn't seen the indictment. They were waiting to read it, and their response was, "Oh, okay, wow, it's got absolutely nothing." So probably it's being done to be.
And when you say family members, this is the victims. This is Anna's dad.
Yeah.
So really, the victim's family. I mean, I know it's
the victim's
complicated
family,
because it's also.
Thank you. That's a good tip. Drag the MP4 into the web browser and it'll usually play. Okay. I have not been able to find anything through my computer because you know how like MP4 will default to Windows Player or some crap. It never works. I haven't tried it like that. Thank you. I will definitely do that now. I did not realize that. Mabster's back in the house. His link's below. Are you streaming tonight?
Suspect's family. But you would think they would be communicating. Usually, like the prosecution will be in communication with the victim's family.
I'm talking Anna's blood relatives.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So when I say her family members, I'm talking blood relatives. And
real quick.
well, I think they've been frustrated because they've been told not to say anything. So they've had to keep quiet. They've been, as I say, especially upset and concerned that he's not in custody, but they haven't really been able to say that. And even now, perhaps the federal authorities are keeping it brief because they don't want to inflame the situation. They want to keep it as not quiet, but they on the, you know.
Listen, guys, I don't know what the schedule is next for this case, but I do know we will get more details coming out, especially that now that we're charging this guy Timothy as an adult in Florida. Very transparent. All right, very transparent. So I think more information will come soon. My son was slipping on Arnold Palmer. Yeah, prayers to you. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this story. I mean, I live in, the Bay Area and I see it happening on the news. First time my kid did tried a Xanax bar or tried a whatever, and somebody puts fentanyl and that kid dies. The very first time ever taking anything. It's scary, guys. It really is. Meander and shamble, right? We have a whole conversation, but prayers to you. I'm sorry that happened. And I mean, shambling, man.
You could argue that why put out extraneous information that could upset the family and make headlines and fuel podcasts, and me and you will be on here talking about it. But on the flip side, that stuff is going to kind of come out anyway. So it's kind of misguided if you think it's never going to come out. And of course, eventually there'll be a trial and it'll come out a trial.
Yep.
So
they will.
I think maybe in some ways they thought it would be like ripping off a plaster and the indictment would come out and it would give the whole narrative. It would make headlines for a few days.
Well, guys, this just happened yesterday. If this doesn't give you the narrative of what this kid did, now we know the charges and we know exactly, and it's premeditated. You got to understand who that kid is now when you see the charges. All right. He looks like a scrawny little skinny 12-year-old boy, but then you see him walk into court and he's taller than his lawyer and he's quite thin, but I think he's pretty dangerous, guys. I think he will do this again if he has the opportunity. Yep. Mm. Yep. Yes. All right, let's hear this from him because that's what I just said. What's next is another either hearing, pretrial hearing, someone files a motion. I don't know. What do you mean there's no sound? I'm not playing anything. Oh, I get it. I put that back up. That's why. Okay. One more thing. Let's just go right back to this.
Podcasts, and me and you will be on here talking about it. But on the
There you
flip
go.
side,
Sorry about
that stuff is going to kind of come out anyway. So it's kind of misguided if you think it's never going to come out. And of course, eventually there'll be a trial, and it'll come out at trial.
It's okay.
So I think maybe in some ways they thought it would be like ripping off a plaster, and the indictment would come out and it would give the whole narrative.
And it did. And I pulled a map. It was just a second, guys. I had this on the screen and I was playing this down here. I was watching it because I was learning, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot to put the screen back up. We're good. There's sound. Allie's in the house. I pulled a Mab. I came on to Mab's channel the other day and he's talking. And I'm like, Mab, I can't. What are you talking about? I can't hear. So when you start switching screens, you got to remember to put it back up. I pulled a Mab.
It would make headlines for a few days, and then they could kind of move on from this part, and there would be a trial. But that's not the case because, in a week's time, all reporters are going to be looking at PACER, and every time there's a new document, they're going to be reporting what's in that document. So they're going to get incremental pieces of information on what happened to Anna in the news, as opposed to one cycle.
Right.
So
Well,
I don't know what's better for the family or not.
Yeah, and I mean, you have a teenage girl who was killed and sexually assaulted on a cruise ship. I mean, of course, it's going to be a story that we continue to cover. Is there anything else, Ben, that I left out? I mean, I think you covered it really well. Like, do we know what will happen next?
Okay, so this is what you didn't hear, and they're talking about what's going to happen next. Is it going to be another, is it a pretrial? Is it going to be a motion file? What is it? Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the lawyer could tell us, or maybe this guy can tell us.
I guess my last question is, I'm still shocked that he's free. I mean, is there going to be some kind of hearing to lock him up while this all moves forward?
Well, first off, the case isn't yet online, so of course that would list the hearings, right? So I'll keep tracking that. Maybe it's not online tomorrow. I'll have to call the court and say, what is going on? Is there a hearing? But of course, for him to be put in custody.
Okay, so it's got to be some kind of hearing. There's got to be some kind of motion. FBI is taking over. It's a federal case. And we saw earlier in the documents that feds also want him locked up. Royal Bitch X. He's never been not out. He's never been formally handcuffed, and he's never been formally detained in a jail cell. So this kid has no idea what monsters are going to come for him when he gets into prison. I'll tell you that right now. He's going to be somebody's bitch. All right. I'm going to tell you right now, that kid that thinks charged me as an adult, trying to act all tough and sign it away. And I don't know if he signed signed his rights to a quick trial, a speedy trial. If that happens, this kid's going to pass go with no $200. He is going to be someone's bitch, straight up. He thinks he's bad now. Oh, I'll do it as an adult. Yeah. He's never been formally a prison couch. Just wait, buddy. You have no idea what's coming for you next, man. And I kind of like that.
There would have to be another hearing. The prosecution would have to apply to have his release conditions re-examined. So you'd have to come down to court. I don't know that is the case, and I'm pretty certain I would have heard that by now, but that would be the process. So he's not going to just suddenly flick your fingers and he's in custody. There would have to be a hearing, and defense attorney would presumably try and fight that. I mean, where's he going to be? Is he going to be in an adult jail? Is they're going to keep him in a federal lockup as a child? Is there a provision for children?
Don't worry, they'll put him in some shitty ass prison in between where that happens, where they got the younger offenders, and he'll learn real quick. All right. So that's what's going to happen next. You're right, Michelle. I didn't even get a chance to bring that up yet. Since it's a federal case, it will not be televised, my friends. So the only thing that we can really do at this point is read the documents as they come out. All right. I see you guys in chat going. I was muted for a second. I wasn't muted. I just didn't put the screen back up. All right, guys. So we're here for justice for Anna Keaptainner. I can't even believe I did 2 hours and 20 minutes and 22 seconds. Say a prayer for Anna Keaptainner that she gets the justice she deserves. Her mom gets some kind of justice, and just all the way around, guys. Let's get this kid charged to the fullest and lock him up. All right. In prison in Florida, was it? Yeah, of course they are. The prisons are terrible. And when you're 16 and you look like a little Ken doll, you're going to be even more in trouble. All right. What's up, Chaos Queen? Go if you want to go back and watch it. It's worth the watch. Yeah, there's teen max prisons. They're going to figure out where he's going to go. And I'll tell you right now, this little guy's going to get bent in half by somebody. No pun intended. All right. Justice for Anna. You got that right. Put that back up, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. There's 111 people right now in chat. Say a prayer that Anna gets the justice she deserves, and it goes fast. Let's get it on the fast track, guys. Lock this kid up, and I will see you guys tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much, Flojo. I'm going to take a look at that, and I'll be able to play it next time when I have an update. I appreciate you. Have a good night, everybody. Love y'all. See you tomorrow, 4 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern. He's a little Ken doll. They're going to break his ass. All right, good night. Love you guys.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty of crime?